This is the Volvo XC40 Recharge with a level 2 plus trim. I've been an owner for about 18 months, and I'm going to go over the 5 things I like about it and the 5 things that I don't like about it. If you're thinking of getting a Volvo electric car, stick around. This video might just help. Starting with the dislikes. First off, how the car locks itself. It's very common for cars in the mid-range or luxury class to have an option to have, when you walk away from the car or approach the car, for it to automatically unlock or lock. My wife likes for it to only unlock the driver's door. And most vehicles have an option for toggling either unlock all doors or unlock just the driver's doors. It's a safety thing. The Volvo doesn't have that option. It will only unlock the driver's door as you approach. And the way you unlock is you just grab the handle and you pull open. Now, if you want to walk away, the car is not going to automatically lock. What you have to do is you press your thumb into a little divot on the handle, and then it locks, and then you can walk away. So there is no auto lock. Number 2, for dislikes, Volvo does not have in these cars an ability to automatically have the car adjust the fan speed. You have to manually select the fan speed when you're turning the air conditioner on and off. Now, if you're going down the road, it'd be kind of nice if you could just set a temperature like 70 degrees and the car will automatically adjust its fan speed and the temperature the air is flowing through the vents at for you. Volvo doesn't do that. Now, I have noticed that when you set like a 3, it's more or less an intensity. There is a little bit of fluctuation in the amount of airflow through the vents as it gets hotter and colder. But basically, it's a fixed setting. That's a bit of an annoyance. The next one is rear auto brake. As soon as you put the car in reverse, you get a backup camera, which is fine, and it's of adequate quality. I find when I go through the car wash, I need to wipe it down in order to get it looking crisp. But regardless, what I don't like, though, is the rear auto brake. And I disable this every time I'm backing up into my garage. If I don't, what's going to happen is at some point as I'm backing into my garage, the car is going to take over the control of the braking system and go to a full brake. And then it starts beeping, and it's a very nerve-wracking event. Plus, I'm not hitting anything. The car just thinks that there's some obstruction. So it needs to be calibrated before I'm going to allow it to intervene. So I've gotten in the habit of every time I back into my garage, go into the setting. This pops up as soon as you put in the rear. Let me just put it in forward. All right, we'll cancel the camera, and then we'll put it in reverse again. You can see the camera comes on, and I just turn off rear auto brake. And for me, I wish I didn't have to do that. The fourth thing, when this model came out, which was the 2022 model year, these wireless chargers were pretty common. The one here has a bit of a rubberized insert over it that basically makes it unusable. There's no magnetic pulling of the phone into the right location. You have to place it right. Basically, it's an unusable feature. So instead, I just keep my phone plugged into a USB-C port here that goes to a lightning cable in the back of my iPhone instead. So it's unfortunate now that I've got this unused feature. The last dislike, if you wish to have your electric vehicle provide you environment while you're glamping in the back, and this car does a glamping setup pretty well with the seats folded down. I've got a twin air mattress that inflates perfectly into the rear area of the car, and I've glamped in it many times. But it does not have a camp mode. The closest thing it has are these timers when you can start the environment and stop the environment. And in a parking mode, you can start heating and cooling, but you can't set the temperature. Plus, when you start the heating and cooling for a parking event, it's only going to go for 30 minutes. Now, these settings are also in the Volvo mobile app, and it looks like this. What I normally do when I'm glamping is I keep my phone near me and I turn on the environments in order to initially fall asleep. And then if I wake up during the evening and I'm either hot or cold, then I just go into my iPhone and I press the button to turn the environment on again, and the car will start either heating up if it's cold outside or cooling down if it's hot outside. That's a bit of an annoyance. It really should be that there's a camp mode option. And I understand the reason Volvo does not have a camp mode in their cars is they believe it to be a safety issue. Now, it's a safety issue if you have an internal combustion engine car and there's a tailpipe. But this is an electric car. There is no safety issue. You cannot suffocate in a car. There's sufficient airflow. Plus, I normally keep the moonroof cracked a little bit. So I really wish that for the electric cars, they would add a timer for, 5 hours, 6 hours, 8 hours, whatever, or just a camp mode in order to keep your dog in the car and let it run, or something along those lines. Now let's go to the likes. The first one I'm going to touch is the sunroof and moonroof combo. In the Volvo XC40 Recharge, it has a shade. Most electric vehicles have what I call a fixed glass roof that's tinted. And the reason they tint it is in order to compensate for the intrusion of sunlight into the cabin and the effect that has on the environment. In the XC40 Recharge, there's a shade. So you can either choose on a cloudy day like today to have the shade all the way back, or on a sunny day to have it fully closed so there's no intrusion of light whatsoever. You also have the option of cracking it to let in a little air as you're going down the road. This is helpful, I've found, in order to extend the range. If the temperature is moderate, a little below 70, probably all the way down to about 40 degrees, I could use the seat heaters to keep myself comfortable and then turn off the environment controls, and that lengthens the amount of range I have on my high voltage battery. And then I just let a little fresh air in using the crack. Or you can go fully back to have the full sunroof experience. So all those different options combined really make for a flexible selection of features for the roof of the car. It can be fully closed, it can be fully open, it can be partially open, it could be shade back, it could be shade forward. Most electric vehicles do not have all those options. The next like, in automotive terms, there's something called fit and build, which refers to the craftsmanship that went into the actually assembly of the car, not the design, but the actual assembly. And other EV makers often get criticized for their lack of quality in fit and in build. Now, because Volvo has been a long-established OEM car manufacturer, and they're often in the luxury category, their fit and build has been perfected over decades. And there's just quality everywhere you go. I haven't found really anything with the fit and build quality of this car to complain about. It is crisp, clean. There's a Scandinavian minimalist feel to the whole thing, but that goes to design, which I'll touch on here shortly. But no problem whatsoever with fit and build. As you can see, lines are crisp, gaps are uniform, and Stitching is pristine. The third thing I like about it are the design elements. I consider them all to be very well thought out. This is not a hastily designed vehicle made by engineers trying to eke out efficiency from an electric vehicle platform. These are people who are thinking through the whole driving experience. And there are many design elements that I like. The credit card holder is a novel approach for putting your RFID cards for charging. Keep those handy in the car. There is a trash can, which I absolutely adore as a design element. And the way it works is you can put your trash in here. It's separate from the rest of the armrest compartment. And then you could take the whole thing out, empty it, and then bring it back in. I really like that trash can. Let's go around the back. Let's face it, cars are often used to haul things around, most commonly groceries. And what they've thought of are these hooks in order to hang the ubiquitous grocery bags. There's 3 of them. Also, in the up position, the back of the car is now compartmentalized. So if you have a bunch of plastic bags full of groceries, they're not going to go rolling around as you make your way home from the grocery store. So that was purposefully thought out, and I think just goes to the fact that Volvo has been thinking through these things for decades. And so all these little design elements, hooks, pass-through, cargo cover, many other little knickknacks that are just adding to the overall driver experience, I have come to appreciate. The fourth thing I like, Volvo as a brand is known for safety. Now just listen to when I close the door. It has a very heavy feel. And if you look at the A-pillar right here, this is steel, and in front of me is an ample hood. So I have a thick door, a solid A-pillar, and an ample hood, which not only practically provides a safety element, it also provides the driver a sense of safety. So as I'm driving around in this car, I don't feel threatened by other cars slamming into me and causing me harm. I feel very safe in the steel cage that is protecting me. There's other safety elements that the Volvo XC40 Recharge has as a part of its platform. If you get too close to a car that's slowing down, it will alert you. There are little arrows in the mirrors that will light up as blind spot indicators. And as I mentioned, the rear backup, which I'm not a big fan of because it seems to need quite a bit of calibration before I'm going to be accepting of it. But regardless, overall, the car provides the driver a noticeable sense of safety. The last thing I'm going to talk about, and the thing I appreciate the most, is the built-in navigation system as provided by Google. Now, you might say, well, why are you so impressed about a navigation system? Well, as an EV driver, I need to be aware of whether or not I'm going to be able to make it to my destination with enough charge. Now, if you look right there, it says 70%. This is known colloquially as a guessometer, or GOM, G-O-M. Different EV brands have different means of making this calculation. Volvo and also General Motors have decided to allow Google to provide the analytics and the math needed in order to come up with this number. Now, this number is unique to the Volvo XC40 Recharge, so it's calibrated for the weight of the car, the drag coefficient, and a few other variables. And what it does in order to find out what this number is, Let's just go to BJ's Wholesale. You can see 13 minutes, 69%. Now, I'm going to talk about this for just a minute. So, an EV is a heavy vehicle. So, when it's going uphill, it needs to draw from the battery more. When it goes downhill, that downhill effect is going to regenerate energy into the battery pack. Now, that messes up these calculations because first you need to know how big your battery is, how many kilowatts you're burning, what percentage each kilowatt is, how many kilowatts you're going to burn to get to your destination associated with the distance, the wind direction. I'm going to cancel that. Excuse me. The wind direction, and also the altitude change between where you currently are and where your destination is. Now, that math is done by Google. Now, I've seen a lot of road trippers in Teslas and many other EVs, and I'll watch that the GOM number, which is the destination state of charge, will fluctuate as they're driving. That's a problem, because if I'm going down a road and I started a trip thinking I'm going to be able to get to my destination and I can't, now I'm in a bit of a crisis mode and I'm going to have to find an emergency charger somewhere. But in the Volvo XC40 Recharge, the Google calculation I find is very accurate. My wife and I took a long road trip from Florida to Charlotte in a car that has this built in also. It's the Cadillac Lyric. And it too is very accurate. It does not fluctuate. And when you arrive at your location, it is extremely close to the estimate that it provided when you first started your trip. It does not fluctuate. Now, one thing it will do, if I turn on my environment, it's going to fluctuate because it now knows that I am using more kilowatts in order to provide environment to the cabin. I had it off just because it's easier for the microphone to pick up my voice with the environment off. Most of the time you'll drive with it on, and the car will automatically adjust the destination state of charge for all those factors. And in my opinion, the Google one is the best in class, the best available for any EV out there. And that's why brands like Volvo and General Motors are starting to adopt it. So I hope you found that helpful. I actually had a hard time coming up with the 5 dislikes because I just really love this car to death. If it's possible for a human being to fall in love with a machine, I think I've accomplished it, because this car and I just really like each other. Taking it everywhere, love the thing to death. Very few dislikes. A few minor things that I mentioned are easily overlookable by the fact that I have an electric vehicle that gets me anywhere I want to go efficiently and just a ridiculous amount of fun to drive. So if you're thinking of transitioning to an electric vehicle, Volvo as a brand has many to choose from. As I mentioned, the XC40 Recharge, the C40 Recharge, the EX90, which is a 3-row full-size SUV, and the much anticipated EX30, which will be the small SUV crossover coming out in 2024. It's supposed to be as fast to beat a Lamborghini Diablo from a dead stop, and also comfortable enough to take the kids to soccer practice afterwards, all while not doing any emissions out of its tailpipe, because it doesn't even have tailpipe. Anyway, hope this helps. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks a lot for watching.